Hello, I'm Simon Whistler, you're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today we're looking at 10 amazing rags to riches stories. As humans, we all like to hear inspiring and uplifting things, especially in times of economic woes and downfalls. In today's world, I think a rags to riches story would easily inspire people to continue to fight through any hard times. Rags to riches stories are most definitely inspiring, even if you're one of those people who doesn't dream of extreme wealth. These stories are going to show you just how far determination, confidence, and perseverance can get you in life, no matter if you start from the very bottom. Here are the top 10 rags to riches stories. Let's get started.
Number 10. John D. Rockefeller. Rockefeller was born in Richest, New York, and was one of 6 children. His father was a traveling salesman and was a foe of conventional morality. Throughout much of his life, Rockefeller's father tried to find tricks and schemes he could use in order to avoid hard work or any work at all. John's mum struggled a lot in order to keep stability in the home, especially when her husband was gone for weeks at a time. Rockefeller's family soon moved to Moravia and then to Owego. John went through school and got a job as a bookkeeper, where he made about $50 in 3 months. In 1859, Rockefeller decided to start a business with a friend called Maurice B. Clark. The two established a firm and built an oil refinery. The refinery was run by 2 other men, but soon after, Rockefeller bought out the Clark brothers' firm and renamed it Rockefeller and Andrews. Soon, his brother also bought into the oil business. By the end of it all, Rockefeller was able to found the Standard Oil Company and became the world's first billionaire. Number 9. Liz Murray. Born in the Bronx, New York, Murray's life started off on a bad note. She was born to HIV-infected, drug-addicted, poor parents that were not able to provide for her. At 9 years old, Murray found herself and her family living in an extremely dirty apartment. At the age of 16, Murray was left alone once her mother died of AIDS. Her father also abandoned her, moving to a homeless shelter. She went to high school but often found herself sleeping in subways, on park benches, or at friends' homes. Without a great education, Murray was able to graduate in only 2 years and was able to attend Harvard. Today, Liz is an inspirational speaker who speaks out about determination and how no matter how hard life is, you have to move on and continue to work your way through the battles. Many movies have been created about her. Number 8. Ozzy Osbourne. Osbourne was born in Aston, Birmingham in the UK. His father was a toolmaker and his mother worked on car components. His parents worked hard each day in order to support Ozzy and his 5 siblings. Osbourne didn't do well at school because he was said to be dyslexic. Because of this, Ozzy looked towards extracurricular activities such as music and plays. At 15, Ozzy dropped out of school and became a construction site laborer. He switched jobs between being a plumber, toolmaker, slaughterhouse worker, and then a car factory worker. Osbourne sometimes got into trouble and was accused of burglary of a clothing store. He was also not able to pay the fine, so he spent time in prison. Eventually, Osbourne would go on to become the singer of a local band, and many would recognize his talent. Soon enough, with the help of friends, Ozzy was able to create his own band, Black Sabbath. Throughout his lifetime, Ozzy has struggled with alcoholism and drug abuse. He has been banned from certain cities, arrested many times, and even abused his wife, Sharon. However, he has still been able to produce 9 studio albums that were able to top the charts. Number 7. J.K. Rowling. Rowling was born in Yate, Gloucestershire, England, which is near Bristol. She attended school and found her love for writing fantasy stories. She would often write stories and tell them to her sister. Rowling moved from village to village many times and often travelled. In December of 1990, Rowling's mother died and she moved to Porto, Portugal in order to teach English as a foreign language. Before her mother's death, Rowling had already begun writing her famous Harry Potter novel. In Portugal, Rowling married, but the couple separated in 1993. However, she did have a daughter and the two moved to Edinburgh, Scotland. During this time, Rowling was diagnosed with clinical depression and often contemplated suicide. She was unemployed and living on welfare. She was able to write and complete her first novel by going to several different cafes. Number 6. Richard Branson. Richard Branson was born to a decent family in Blackheath, London. He had 2 parents and a grandfather that was the judge of the High Court of Justice. He received a good education, but didn't do well in school. Instead of focusing on school, Branson decided to put a lot of time into growing Christmas trees and raising budgerigars. However, both of these projects failed. At 16, Branson was able to publish a magazine and then set up a record mail-order business. In 1972, he was able to open several record stores, which he called Virgin Records. In the 1980s, his record stores were able to flourish. Branson created the Virgin Atlantic Airways while expanding Virgin Records, which became a music label. After starting off a poor student and not having the greatest potential in life, Branson is now the 245th richest person in the world. Number 5. Chris Gardner. Chris grew up without knowing his real father. His mother married a man who completely ruined his and his mother's life. He was chased out of his home and had nowhere to go, so he enlisted in the Navy. He soon became a medical supplies salesman, got married, and had a child. However, the medical supplies industry was changing and Chris needed to find a new source of income. He was able to find interest in stockbroking after seeing a stockbroker with a Ferrari. At this time, Chris had no money and his wife was gone. His son proved to be his motivation, even though the two slept in subway station bathrooms. Chris was able to pass a licensing exam and received a job at Bear Stearns. Here, he'd make cold calls to get clients. By 1987, things had turned around for Chris. He had a home and was making money. In the same year, he was able to start his brokerage firm called Gardner, Rich & Company. Number 4. H. Wayne Huizenga. Wayne was born in Chicago, Illinois. In his early teens, Wayne and his family moved to Florida, but he soon realized that his father was not the male figure he should look up to. He abused his wife, but the move to Florida was made in hopes to keep the marriage from divorce. However, Wayne's dad did not change and he continually abused his family. Wayne went to high school and afterward moved back to Chicago to go to college, but he soon dropped out. He then signed up to be a part of the Army Reserves and trained. After training, he went back to Florida, bought a truck, and began taking garbage out of his county. Eventually, the one garbage truck he purchased grew into a highly successful business. It ran all throughout southern Florida and soon became known as Waste Management Inc. Soon enough, Wayne's company was known all over the US. Wayne also purchased Blockbuster stores, which became a huge success, and eventually merged it with Viacom. Throughout his life, Wayne has been able to found 3 Fortune 500 companies. Number 3. Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was born in Ontario, Canada. At first, Jim's family was doing just fine. His father worked as an accountant, but as Jim got older, his family situation deteriorated. His family had to move to Scarborough, and they all worked at the Titan Wheels factory. Jim had to work 8 hours a day and attend school, and still it was very hard to keep the family stable. After moving out of the factory to new jobs, the family found themselves living in a camper van. Eventually, Jim had the courage to stand up and decide to act on his dream of being a comedian. He did stand-up routines and loved it, so much that he dropped out of high school. Jim was able to land gigs and eventually got a part on a sitcom called The Duck Factory. He also became a part of the In Living Color cast. This was a hit for him, and he has since been able to play important roles in movies such as The Mask and Ace Ventura. Today, he is one of the most highly paid comedians. Number 2. Andrew Carnegie. Though Andrew Carnegie proved to be one of the titans of the industrial age, he was once a poor boy from Scotland. His father was a handloom weaver, but once the industrialization of society reached Scotland, his father's work was no longer needed. For years, his family had tough times to make ends meet, so they decided to start anew and move to America. At 13, Andrew and his family moved to America, and he got a job at a cotton mill. He was working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Eventually, Andrew got a job as a telegraph messenger. Because of his great work ethic, someone from the Pennsylvania Railroad Company offered him a job, which allowed him to earn more money and make his way up the corporate ladder. He soon started investing in railroad companies and then hit the jackpot by investing in the steel industry. His investments would allow him to have his own steel company, which would bring $120 billion to his wallet. Number 1. Oprah Winfrey. Oprah's rags to riches story is probably one that you've heard of or know about fairly well. Oprah was born to unwed teenage parents in Mississippi. Once she was born, the two teenagers ended their relationship. Oprah was raised by her grandmother, who was poor and wasn't able to give her much, but she did teach Oprah how to read before the age of 3. When Oprah turned 6, she relocated to the city of Milwaukee to live with her mother. During this time, she still didn't have much, but she was doing great academically. Oprah became rebellious and ran away from home, so her mother sent her to live with her father in Tennessee. She continued to be a great student and was able to impress many. She went from a radio host to news anchor and then to a television host. Today she has her own television show and channel as well as a magazine.
So I hope you've watched that video and come away inspired. If you did like it, if it did inspire you, please click that like button below, it helps out. Also subscribe to our channel, we put out brand new stuff just like this 7 days a week. And over there on the right, I'm also going to link over to a couple of other videos you'll probably enjoy. The top 10 short but inspirational lives and the top 10 richest cities with serious poverty problems. So if you're looking for some more inspiration, click the top one. And thank you very much for watching.